What's up, guys? I'm Ben Hoagland. I sing in the band Extortionist. We are releasing a brand new record called Stare Into The Seething Wounds via Unique Leader Records, October 10th, 2025. And you were listening to John the Ninja.
Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? It's John the Ninja live in the dojo, aka the dojo. You know it's the John the Ninja Studios, and man, I got a baby face with me today. Stand up, Spirit Lake, Idaho. I tell you, because when this man was a child, he went to Warp Tour and he saw Spencer Chamberlain screaming on stage, and for no reason, he just looked at his mom and he said, "That's what I'm gonna do." And damn it, I would say in 2018 he made that come true. Not only did he become a musician himself, but he played Warp Tour. He's traveled all over the world. He's gone to England. He's been at the Palace of Budapest. He's had pizza in Italy, and he survived a shootout at 8 Mile in Michigan. But we'll get to that sooner enough. The man in his real day-to-day job, because you know us musicians have to have other work, he's a graphic designer, and he's actually done some impressive work. He's worked with Welcome to Rockville. He's worked with Mike Epps, Lorna Shore, Knocked Loose, and many more people with his graphic art designs, even doing his band's logos. But it's the music we get to. Coming from a musical family, mom, dad, stepdad, brothers, everybody played. He started on drums like his mom, but gravitated to guitar. He's a guitarist at heart. He thinks musically through drums, but he is a vocalist, and he's the voice. What this man did was, while being in a shed in Idaho, chilling out with some friends, it was a field of dreams moment. Random musicians, all playing different instruments, came together, they made a song, and then, you know what, let's record it. With no inkling of ever releasing it. But it was the definitive moment while he was going through the newspaper, actually a news article to be correct. He saw the band's name and just said, that's it. And the band's name is Extortionist. And the singer I have with us today is Ben Hoagland. Ladies and gentlemen, let me quote this man real quick, because what he said was beautiful. I think the most rewarding aspect of being an artist or creative is creating a piece of art that people can relate to and connect with, whether it's art or music. It makes the world feel a little less dark and lonely. Not to say the band doesn't thrive off of that energy, being metalcore, hardcore, whatever style you like. The band is heavy as can be, and I absolutely adore it. Known for their historic influence on the metalcore and deathcore genre, the band has toured with the likes of Lorna Shore, once again, Attila, Bodysnatchers, and much more. On October 10th, they will be releasing their new album, Stare Into The Seething Wounds. And, of course, their latest single, which is already out now, Cycle of Sin, is something you need to hit that link below and check out. So, without further ado, with me less talking, I bring to you a Mr. Ben Hoagland of Extortionist. Sir, it is great to see you.
Thanks for having me. It's great to see you too.
Man, I'm not getting used to this, man.
I know, right?
I'm not used to it either.
But you are cool as can be, man. And I always marvel at people that just know what they were going to do as a kid. In the job fields I've done gas work, I've done pharmacy, I've done all kinds of stuff. You always get these people that just had that understanding of who they were at a young age. And you just looked at mom and said, "Mom, I'm going to be a musician." Could you bring me back to that day for Warped Tour and just what was that moment you knew and you just looked at her? What was the build up to that?
So I was 7 years old. Um, in Washington, there's this venue called the Gorge, and it was one of the few days of Warp Tour, I guess, that they had like a weekend camp out thing. Like it was like a weekend long like event, I guess. And anyways, it was my first concert. I was 7 years old, and yeah, I was just walking through, Warp Tour as a 7-year-old kid back in the day, and just seeing all the band shirts and like all the bands playing, and like it's the alternative music scene. I just loved like every inch of what I was seeing, like all around me at the time. And then, as we're getting into the festival grounds and, seeing bands like Under Oath or The Offspring or whatever, just the intensity of it all, or at least being exposed to that at such a young age. I don't know, I just fell in love immediately. And just never stopped trying to, I guess, chase that. So, yeah.
But it's such a vindicating life you've led, man. So young, but still having all these crazy stories, having all these experiences. Your favorite band was Alice in Chains. And you said something that was weird to me. You said it was divorced dad rock. I was like, ooh, I feel old. I didn't. I thought it was just rock. It has a subgenre now. Oh, and you've quoted as Stanley Lane. I can't even say his name.
Lane
Sorry.
Staley.
Thank you, sir. Sorry, Lane. Rest in peace. As one of your idols, one of the guys you look after, I wanted to know what gravitated you to you. See, I couldn't say his name. Now I can't speak English. Sorry about that, sir.
That's
What
okay.
about that band really was the one that you said, this is my band? It's like when I found AC/DC and all of a sudden it was just a flick of the switch. I'm quoting them. It just really made sense for me to love this band intensely. What about Alice in Chains just fit the vibe so perfectly for you?
There's a lot of reasons why. One, I was raised on that type of music. My parents did, Sunset Strip in LA in the 80s and also did, the Seattle grunge thing in the 90s. And so that's just kind of the type of music that I was raised on. But, I'd always hear it in the background as a kid, but then I think I was in third grade. It was like second or third grade when I really like deep dove them. And since we're kind of like from the Northwest and whatnot, I thought that was really cool learning that as a kid. They're like, they're from near the area, and also just, but ultimately it's like just I don't know. I just think the songwriting is so cool. It mixes like blues with heavy metal with, I mean, even country a little bit there, and just a very I don't know, just a very like haunting way. And I just thought it was like the coolest thing ever when I was a kid. And same as you, just the switch flipped, and I just all their music videos are so like weird and eerie and just I don't know, I just loved everything about the image, the sound, the whole package, and the harmonies that Lane Staley and Jerry use together when they're singing is I mean, I'm everything I do is ripping off Alice in Chains, to be honest. So I don't know. I could go on and on about that band, to be honest, but yeah.
I'm cool with that too, but it's rock and roll, man. We're all ripping everybody off. That's how we do it.
Yeah. I mean that in like a funny, like paid my respects way, of course, but
In other interviews, you stated you were a troubled teen,
yeah,
yet your family dynamic really set the stage for you to become a musician. I wanted to know
yeah,
how you felt growing up before you were able to get out, because again, your mom did allow you at 11 be out and about. You didn't go to high school; they just let you tour, and it's really paid off. I just wanted to
yeah.
know where your headspace was as a child.
As a kid, man, it's kind of hard to remember exactly, like specifics, but I mean, not everybody has gotten to live a life that I have lived in that way. Most people's parents would, definitely not let their kids go on tour. But, you know, to answer your question, it was, I mean, at the time, it was exciting, I mean, I'm a small town Idaho kid getting to go out and tour around the country with my best friends. I mean, and play with bands that I, would look up on YouTube and like and whatnot at the time. So I mean, like I guess on like the more positive side, like it was a very exciting. Like my teenage years were extremely fun. I mean, there's highs and lows to everything, but it was it it's pretty cool. And when I think back on it, I'm grateful that my parents, you know, trusted me and my bass player Riker enough to, he was kind of like my legal guardian when I was out on the road. I'm grateful they just kind of let me do the thing. And yeah, I don't know. It was very exciting, but there were some hard times for sure. But ultimately, I just wanted to do this thing so bad. So it was, uh, it was awesome.
I wanted to know how graphic design really caught your attention, because you were doing gigs, still young. You came home and then you saw Photoshop on your mom's office, and again, it was just another. Oh, I need to do that. What was happening for you to just, you know what? I want to do some Photoshop. I saw some taxes on my parents' desk one time. I didn't go, oh, you know what? Taxation might be the way to go right now.
That's fair. um, well, so you know, as a lot of, I guess, metal fans, when we're kids and we're getting exposed to that for the first time, that type of music, you know, I don't know if you were this type of kid, but scribbling like metal logos on your binder in school or on your homework assignments and shit. I was just so into music and like heavy metal and grunge and all, bands like Slipknot and all sorts of stuff as a kid. And I used to just redraw their logos all over my stuff all the time. And I loved going to the record store and back when CDs were way more popular, and opening up the booklet and getting to see like all the art inside and the lyrics. And I just I found it super fascinating when I was a kid. And eventually, I learned that Photoshop was one of the tools that you could use to make that type of stuff. And yeah, I just really wanted to make band logos and album covers. So, and when I saw Photoshop on my mom's desk in her office, I took it, installed it on my piece of shit computer, and just started making shit, and posting it online, and eventually started getting offers, from other local musicians that were willing to pay me a few bucks to make them something. And it just kind of went from there. So but it aligns with the music career thing too, so back, like way back in the day, it was like, you know I could design something for 20 bucks, and that would be like, McDonald's cheeseburgers out on the road in the early days, like for a few days. So it's just meeting people out on the road and networking and all that. It just kind of, yeah, it just all kind of went from, they all coincide with each other, I guess.
Biggest two names, and I mean no disrespect to anybody else we've already mentioned. That's our community. The other names I mentioned, but when I
Yeah.
saw that you worked with Mike Epps and you worked with Welcome to Rockville, I have a studio
Mhm.
in Florida, and Welcome to Rockville is the Bonnaroo. It is the end all be all down there. I wanted to
Yeah.
know how that came about because I've seen those logos, spectacular work for the actual vibe of that event, of the area. It just, every time you did it, it just looked so pristine. I wanted to know how you felt when doing those.
Yeah, that was a really cool opportunity. I have to shout out my friend Billy Barber, or William Barber. He hooked me up with that gig. Shout out to Will. But yeah, he reached out, and he's also another person on the creative team for the company that puts those festivals on. And invited me to be involved in some designs for some of the festivals. And it was really exciting. I All the bands on the festival I loved. I've always wanted to go. I still haven't been yet, but I'm just grateful that you know some artwork I got to create was part of the festival as a whole. And yeah, no, it was awesome. That was in the last couple of years, those were some of the funnest designs that I made, and was really stoked to be a part of. So
Is he how you got a hold of Mike Epps with his team to work on it?
no, that was an old person I used to work with back in the day, a little while ago. But uh, yeah, no, Will just got me hooked up with the festivals a little bit, and I got to do some things here and there for all of those festivals. But well, not all of them, but a handful of them. But yeah.
And then, of course, the last graphic design question I got for you.
Yeah, no worries.
Your tattoos. I always love
Uh,
tattoos of girls. I just wanted to know what the symbols were for those two ladies on you, because those are
oh
like it's
man,
like
these I want to I'm gonna cover some of. I've got most of my tattoos before I was even 18. There's no significance behind them. um, yeah, uh, nothing there really. Just I was just young and would tattoo whatever on me at the time. So
for those beautiful ladies. I would beseech you at least work with them. Uh,
yeah, I mean this arm's a little different, but this one means absolutely nothing. But
it's charming to have that in life. It's a reminder of this spontaneity, being
yeah,
spontaneous. Something I
yeah,
did find funny. I know you as well. You are a traveler. You
mhm,
are someone who likes to hit the different spots when you hit it, a new place. And
yeah,
much like my friend, you as well as him was smitten by a girl from Salt Lake City, and now you were based out of that area. I wanted to know because prior to you had some really bad interactions in that city. What changed when you got there? You guys may or may not be together. If they're not, I don't know. I apologize. But I wanted to know what the situation was when you got to Salt Lake City because that is a city that, even though you had bad experiences, there's a lot of history that I can tell you would have enjoyed.
Oh yeah, for okay, yeah. Yes, that was I was I mean my main reason to moving there was for my now ex, well, she's my ex-girlfriend now, but no, no, totally okay. Um but what changed when I got there? So I started, I guess while I was starting this relationship, I traveled to Salt Lake all the time, obviously, was doing the long distance thing, but I'm my own boss, so I could travel a lot. So got to deep dive that city a lot while I was visiting. And yeah, I used to hate that place like for many years on tour. But as I spent more time and got to see more and like, meet people and, you know, the list goes on. I fell in love with that place. I actually miss it a lot. I really enjoyed like all the friends that I made and the scenery there is beautiful. Like when you actually like go out and have the time to, explore and whatnot. But yeah, met a lot of great people, saw a lot of cool stuff, and just did a lot of fun shit really. And I got to meet our guitar player Blue, who's our producer as well down there. And no, it was a really cool part of my life. And it's funny because it was one of my least favorite cities, and now it's one of my favorite cities. So yeah, but it was no, I love Salt Lake now, but there was a time that I hated it for sure.
It's a weird dynamic. It's really rough for shows, but then when you get to experience it,
Yeah, it's very hit or miss. Like no disrespect to the Salt Lake City scene. I mean the hardcore scene out there is great. Um, but saw a lot of shows are hit or miss. But I mean that can be anywhere really. But it's gotten better over time when we became local there for a while. Obviously things got better, but yeah, no, I love Salt Lake now.
yeah, my friend was living near the stadium, so before his wedding, I had 3 days to run around that whole place. I went
Yeah,
up the hill, saw the
up in the
church.
hills and yeah,
Saw the temple, saw the museum, went up to the Capitol. Took forever to
yeah.
find William Bringing's grave, man. It was crazy, but I digress. Being as well traveled, I did have to ask: are you still thrift shopping as well? I know you became a thrifter within the past couple of years.
The hell? How do you know all this? It's funny. Yeah, I love thrifting. Like they like vintage band tees and or just vintage clothing in general. My buddy or one of my best friends, Jake Barsom from Distinguishers, the one who got me into that. And yeah, I still do that for sure.
You got me scared now. I got the Salt Lake City thing wrong, and now I'm like, I don't know if my facts are legit
Oh
anymore.
no, it's okay. No, you're spitting a lot of facts that I'm like quite shocked actually.
With all your travels, you've mentioned that you really did love being at the Budapest Palace, and that was kind of when you were over in Europe. That moment you realized, hey, I'm actually in Europe. I'm actually doing this. I have a lot of love for Philadelphia. That city was what Salt Lake City was for you, man. I hated
Yeah,
going there, and then one
yeah,
crazy night seeing the Pretty Reckless, and then my life changed, and that is my home
yeah.
base. I wanted to know, do you have any crazy stories from Philly? I know Tampa's another spot where you have a couple of stories. Is there any stories from
Oh,
Tampa?
I got stories everywhere. I definitely have actually these two nose piercings. Uh, I got them pierced in the same day in Philly, actually. Uh, Also, man, I feel like I have more from there. I love Philly though. I have a lot of fun there. I have a lot of friends there too. Trying to think. Man, I feel like we were staying when we were starting the Lorna Shore tour. I could be so wrong, but I could have swore it was just outside of Philly. We stayed at some weird, like, it, it's not a country club, but it was just some, I don't even know how to explain it, but it was some kind of like, it almost reminded me of like a summer camp thing. And we parked our van and trailer there because somebody knew someone. And there was people from another band. And I think on the tour, and I think they got in a kayak. It was on a river, and they got on a kayak, and we didn't know them at the time, but they were staying at this place too, and they like flipped it and couldn't get out, and like lost their phone. It was like a whole thing, and it was like kind of how we met each other, and it was, it was one of those you had to have been there moments, but I don't know. I have a handful of stories from there. I just cannot think of anything super crazy, but I do miss the Voltage Lounge though.
A lot of crazy stories. Back to the 8 Mile where you were just getting something inside at the gas station, and a holdup happened. You had the guy in England who just randomly walked up to you, spit in your like had a drink, spit the drink in your face, and was like, "Welcome to England." And you were already having a bad day that day, so you kind of just let it go. But the one tour story thing that still kind of rubs me the wrong way, like, "Are you okay?" is that book. I think it's Band of the Bill. I'm not too sure, but that book, is that why you had the
Yeah,
nose ring?
that was part of the book. I still have them.
That's the most tame thing I know about that book, because everything else was
Yeah,
crazy, like drink pee, like jump on
I
top of
drink
the car.
pee. I didn't drink pee. I want that to be clear.
I just wanted to know the origin of how you initially got the book. I know it was like an Angel, I think it's Angel Maker's book, but I just wanted to
Yeah.
know, like, that's like finding the encyclopedia from Marty McFly, and then just let Tony Hawk's Underground 2 go crazy. Like, those are the crazy stories we hear about tours that nobody really hears.
I mean, yeah, like you said, at the time, Angel Maker, that was their tour game, and they made these books, and it was, it's kind of like King of the Road, the Thrasher skateboarding thing, or Jackass, or that type of stuff. But they were headlining, and that was the game we were playing, and you know, at the time, uh, especially particular past members were not scared to participate. So, um, yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of the whole tour game. I mean, every band participated, so I think we just might be one of the only ones that say anything about it.
Your story kind of reminds me of Tom Arai's cousin, where when he was younger, he went on tour with them, went over to Europe, and then when they came back, they told him to go to school. And he's like, "Go to school? I'm going to learn anything." When you were younger and you started touring, you were young. The world was still kind of scary, and you did have a constant fear because it was a new horizon. It was something you never dealt with, and then gradually you started to mature in touring and understanding how the world really works, because that's probably the best way to do it, see the different places. Was there a
Yeah.
moment where, kind of like when you were seeing the Palace in Budapest, like, "Oh, I'm in Europe," where touring you kind of got the idea of like, "Oh no, I understand the world now. I'm an adult now. I can handle myself pretty well," instead of having to rely on Riker to watch your back for everything.
I mean, I feel like I've always been able to handle myself very well, even when I was a kid. Riker being my guardian was just for legal purposes in case, we were to get into some trouble. But uh yeah, I mean, I still think though, like even as an adult, every time I go to Budapest, I'm like, wow, I'm in Budapest. This is awesome. Like, you know what I mean? And I that excitement is still there. I just love traveling very much. But yeah, I mean, I guess in the first few tours, or if we're talking when I was way younger, it was a little intimidating. I mean, I don't know what I'm going into, and there's, you're sleeping in truck stops and shit like that, and I'm just a kid, so
I have to hit Extortionist, man. You knew you were going to be a musician,
yeah,
but you started as the guitarist for the band. Of course, you guys
yeah,
failed a dream situation. Already mentioned that, but it was a quick turnaround from guitar to vocals.
yeah,
I needed to know what really in your head said, "No, this is a better fit. I am the voice of this. I need to stick this out." Because for the longest time before the initial break and reunion that you guys just had recently in the
yeah,
past couple of years, that was your identity. And you just have this natural understanding of what is you, what is right for you. So what were
yeah.
you thinking when you said, "No, I'm not a guitarist. I'm a singer in this"?
It kind of went the other way around. We had kicked out, I guess, the previous guy, um, and I did backup vocals at the time, even on the first recordings. But when the when we removed the previous member, way back, the remaining band members at the time were like, "You're doing vocals now," and I was like, "Oh shit, okay." And I just leaned into it from there. I kind of knew how to do it, and had fun doing the backup stuff, but yeah, I kind of got just told that I was going to be the vocalist, and here I am, like almost 13 years later. But
It seems that every vocalist I speak to in the genre always start off by just raw dogging it. There's no vocal training. You just kind of trial by fire it. But I did hear a rumor that I have to try and confirm. There's a rumor that you actually learned when you started actually protecting your voice and starting to work on it, that there's a vocal technique from Beyonce's vocal coach that you did. I have to know if that rumor is true or not.
yeah, I mean, it's on YouTube, but yeah, I don't know. I'm, I don't remember ever saying that publicly, but maybe I did. Well, yeah, I mean, that's that. There's some YouTube videos on online, and I just do a lot of like stuff from her alleged vocal coach or whatever, or at least back in the day I used to. But yeah, that was a thing.
And I believe Melissa, is it Cross? I believe she had a DVD too that you used as well.
Yeah, yep. I still watch that from like every once in a while, but just to stay brushed up on it all. But I'm still trying to get better too. So, but yeah, both of those things are correct.
What was probably the most eye-opening technique you've learned? Because again, you blow out your voice every night. That's not good. But then again, you're doing the type of screaming you're doing. It's a lot of give and take. You're specifically sacrificing parts of the vocal cords that night to create a sound, but you also
Yeah.
do it in a safe way so you can recreate it later.
Yeah, I mean, just off the top of my head, I mean, I've had quite a few like aha moments, with it, but one that I find myself always like, practicing, I guess, in real time is Melissa Cross has this one, you know, like I don't know if exercise is the right word or technique, I guess, where she wants you to like try to like bounce your voice off the wall. You know what I mean? Like find the wall at the back of the room and try to like throw your voice at it, I guess. You know what I mean? And I found that really, I don't know why, but like really helped my confidence, I guess, like because when we started, implementing singing into our music, I was really timid at first, admittedly. But yeah, I remember that being one of the things, and then being on stage one day and then singing and just trying to like sing at this certain spot in the wall. If that, I mean, it sounds crazy, but I don't know if you've seen the DVD or, but it was that really helped a lot. And then obviously everything to do with, breath control, like mostly because, that's the most important, really.
For that bouncing off the wall technique, is that a little bit more of the project? Because I know how to project, not
Mhm.
singing wise, but I know how to project the voice, make it louder. So is that part of that technique, or is it just trying to counter the tone you just hit as it bounces back?
I don't know what it is. I think it's more of a projection thing, but obviously, you're trying to bounce something off of a wall. But, um,
Okay, fair enough.
but I think yeah, I don't know, but it helps just with a lot with the confidence, like for some reason, and I think like letting go and just but like having some of these things subconsciously in your mind, I don't know, it just made me feel way better about doing it live and becoming more comfortable with it.
Chad Rolick was pretty much in awe of your voice and was kind of saying things ahead of time before you guys actually started implementing that style. So that was super cool as well. Again, man, it's just little prophecies coming your way before the explosion of something great. For this second round of Extortionist, do you guys technically broke up in 2019, had a little bit of time, 2022 time, you guys returned, but there was such an explosion on your return. People were super stoked. People were rushing to see you guys, and at the time you said it kind of took you back, but you were happy to playing with your friends again, doing this
Yeah.
as a lifestyle. But during that hiatus, you really had a one-two punch. The band broke up, which was your identity, and then also COVID with everything else happening that was stressful on
Yeah.
everyone else. When the band returned, your headspace was different, more mature. What do you
Mhm.
think the biggest lesson was that you learned about yourself during that time? Because again, identity had to be tackled. Friends that you thought were friends finally showed their true colors. It was just a lot in a short period of time.
I guess I don't know what I took away from it. I mean, I feel like this is just such a cliche response, but I mean it's the truth. Like I don't know. I feel like just literally like I feel like I took a whole lot for granted the first time. I was just so used to that being my life, and it's tough. It's tough being in a band, especially in the niche genre that we're in. Trying to make a living and whatnot. And I tend to handle a lot of the business side of things with the band, and um, it was just I felt like I was always stressed out and just could never stop and smell the roses, and really appreciate what I actually had. I think I lost sight of that for a little bit, and I wouldn't say in a way of like becoming egotistical or like I had a big head. I just felt like I think I was always, or at least for a while there, I always thought the grass would be greener on the other side, um, and that was a huge lesson that I had to learn when the band broke up and everything that I did just kind of disappeared. And, you know, um, and there's a lot of like during that time, there's a lot of moments of just being like, man, like I really took a lot of stuff for granted. Like I mean, I was grateful too at a lot of the times, but there was a period where I think I just became so jaded because there was so much like negativity floating around the band at the time, or like internally and whatever else. Just during that phase where it just I just became jaded, negative, and not really like grateful for what I actually had for a little while. So I think it was a good thing that we broke up, and um coming back into it now, it's just like, dude, I don't give a shit what happens. I'm just trying to make art and music and travel with my friends, meet good people, have a good time, and hopefully connect with other people in the process. But if it doesn't get any bigger, better after this, then like whatever, man. I'm just grateful that I get to do what I get to do, and that's all I care about now. Is just you know making sure I really take in each moment and just have a good time and remember why I started making music in the first place.
It's destiny at this point, man. You don't even have to remember.
I mean, I don't know. Who knows? We'll see.
During the break, you wrote a song. You wrote lyrics because you never really stopped, and it was one you said that you guys didn't release. We're talking years ago when you mentioned this. You said it was one that the band hadn't released, and you were hoping to one day. And the new album, ladies and gentlemen, it's in the link below. You gotta go check it out. I'm telling you, stare into the seething wounds. Go check it out. Also, the single I'm mentioning right now, the sixth single, Cycle of Sin, is one you praised highly off of this new album. I didn't know if that was the song you were talking about that you wrote, that you were like, this might be one of our better songs. I,
There's a few of them. So I'm trying to think of which one that you might be referencing to, and I'm trying to think of the timelines. But no, basically everything that's on Stare Into The Seething Wounds is 90% of that was written this year. Like, I mean, honestly, a few months ago. And from like this point, there's a couple demos that I had that were just laying around on my computer that I included that ended up making the record. Um, but most of it we wrote this year, and it's kind of just fresh out of our brains, at least for this particular record. So
do you think that has a lot to do with Blue? Because you guys have mentioned how the way he produces, the way he works, it really kind of gives you guys that freedom. Given just enough rope to hang yourself. If it works, you're good, and if it doesn't, oh, you know what? That was a stupid idea. What is it about his approach that really opened everyone up to being so easily able to do what they do best as far as their instruments?
I mean, you almost just kind of answered it, to be honest. He's very, blues great at what he does. He listens to so much different stuff. He's very creative, um, very talented, and very. You just said something. I'm trying to think about how you just worded it, but um, he makes it easier not only because obviously he offers those skills, and that like you know having a producer in a band is one of the most amazing things that can happen in a band, but he adapts to like a lot of like any style that we're trying to do at the time, because we tend to mix a lot. There's so many, I mean, I could say a million great things about Blue and how and what his contributions do for the band and the writing process.
When did he first make you feel comfortable? Because a lot of musicians are jaded by producers. Some are overkill, some are way too lax, and you've had certain times with other producers where you got apprehensive to do work with producers in certain
Yeah,
ways.
I felt comfortable with Blue immediately. We both clicked in a studio environment very, very, like very quick. I mean, I think even the first studio session that I actually had with him, it wasn't even extortionist related. But me and another musician went in, and just kind of right off the bat, it was just, we vibed, and then we were going to start a different project together. And then I started doing new extortionist stuff, and I was just so comfortable with him, and we clicked so well that there was one day we were both just in the studio, like, man, I just wish you were an extortionist. He's like, I wish I was an extortionist too, and I was like, cool. Well, we're just gonna make that a thing then. So yeah,
What is the game you guys play where you call somebody out on that? If all right, so if I say I'm gonna do something that's so outrageous, and somebody calls me out on it, and I
shit.
don't do it, I gotta get spanked on
Oh,
stage in a weird way. But it's a brilliant way. It's like Jinx, but
it's
shenanigans.
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 We don't play that anymore.
All right, so let me ask this then. You know, this is rock stars, porn stars, pastors. We talk to everybody. I'm just a little concerned at the name, even though it has nothing to do with the ritual, but the cum fart thing. Is that still happening? The ritual.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's that's I can't believe I have yeah, that's I forgot that I said that in an interview recently, didn't I? That's hilarious. I was like, how do you know? Yeah, it's an inside joke that we have just to make everybody laugh in the, you know, um, when you're on tour for over a month, everybody's exhausted and tired and grumpy. We just gotta spice it up, gotta get people pumped, like we're all tired here, gotta start, putting on some Stone Temple Pilots, drinking a couple beers, and saying "come for it," I guess.
That's all it is, people. It's nothing more than just getting together and getting your mood right for the show.
It's literally just us, like kind of our hurdle before we go on stage, but we just have a stupid name for it.
That's okay. I was curious as far as recording because you do have a ritual of taking shots of Jack, like 2 shots, just to get. That's how your vocal cords get loose, and it helps for other people too. Some people do Diet Coke and they gargle it. Other people have their stuff. So when you go in to record these new songs, was there any particular song after the new album that you really, really had to fight for? There's one tune that you did live that was just you really had to prep yourself for it, and I could tell it's like, okay, that one was really a strain for him, and I was just curious how you probably approached some of the other songs in the studio.
There's nothing on the new album that I think is too straining, because we were trying to make it less produced and more like natural sounding. And one goal that we did have was that anything that's going on this album, like, we want to be able to do it live. So I have a history of screwing myself over by writing ridiculous vocal patterns over certain parts. especially on the record before this one. There was a particular song that, holy shit, it's like I would just spend the whole set thinking about that, getting through that one, just with breath control and whatnot. It's ridiculous, but yeah, this album, I think, no, I'm pretty confident on every single song on this record, actually.
Were any of those melodies, because creatively certain people they have to go to bed and then they'll hear it, some people are in the shower, you usually get them on the long drives or when you're super tired. what
Yeah,
what was the song where it really came together through that process, where you were still working on it, got home, and it's like, oh, there it is, saved it, came in?
I feel like that was most of the songs on this album. Uh, yeah, there's a whole, trying to think of a particular one. Um, Invisible Scars Part Two, for sure. That was one. Submit to Skin was another one, and there's, oh, Low Roads. Yeah.
I wanted to ask about Low Roads because that seemed like the one I was like, that's perfect because you guys have. I do love. It's not the van. It's the camper you guys have and how you
Oh,
set
the
it up.
RV, yeah.
Yeah, so it's really nice. For you, is there a particular song that you would say is probably your most proud of off of this album? Because I really wanted to ask you about Submit to Skin. That's just a great title automatically. I'm like, I'm gonna have to use
Yeah.
that on a girl one day. But like, hey, you never submitted to Skin? Oh.
um, uh, so you're asking which song I'm most proud of on the record? That's so hard. I feel like it's changing every week. I'm really proud of Do You See It, Low Roads, and The Break I Couldn't Mend. And I don't know. I'm biased right now because I'm still in the like excited phase of, just gearing up to release this thing. I'm very proud of the whole record though. So I personally, it's I feel like it's kind of the thing I've been trying to do with the band for many years, and I feel like we kind of just figured it out. Um, and so far the reaction's been really cool. So
The anticipation is high. What were
yeah,
the talks like to have Cycle of Sin as the single? Because there's a couple of songs I like by you guys. First Generation, last album Cycle, but this one I was just like, usually I tell people like, oh, this is, the question is gauged like, this is the song I would show somebody to show the band. How does this one stack up? But now this one's actually the one that kind of blew everything out of the way. It was like, no, this is how I would start off by saying, listen to Extortionist.
to be honest, I didn't think that song was gonna make it on the record. I uh I was back and forth from Idaho to Salt Lake, and um I wrote all the instrumentals to that one in like a day. One of my buddies was over while I was doing it, and I was just whatever having fun. And I wrote a handful of demos that are on the record now. But uh, yeah, I didn't even expect it to be the first single either. Um, wasn't even my choice either. But I'm happy it is because I think it re-engaged all of our old fans to come back, because it's very like self-titled, sever the cord sounding. Um, so it made sense for that to be the first one, but yeah, I don't know. It's just this whole process just kind of just happened so fast. I wasn't expecting that at all to be the first single, really, though. But
What about making the album cover? Because you do the album arts for most of them. One of them you did a collaboration, but
yeah,
this particular album really made me see the influences of all the other bands that you liked, and then
yeah.
made it your own. Back to stealing from them and then flattering. But
Joking around,
I
yeah.
really did love the album cover. If I can know, because for me, I did do the doodles in high school, my favorite bands.
Yeah.
I sucked at drawing. So I got stick figures, and I was the lyrics. I just rewrote the
Yeah.
lyrics. But when I do thumbnails for YouTube, when I do these stupid stories on Instagram, it seems so ridiculous to me, even when I say it out loud. But it takes me an hour because even though I have a limited ability to present this idea, that I really want to convey it the best I can. So I've had times where a story or the thumbnail would take an hour, and you're just like, bro, you're just putting pictures next to each other. But
Yeah.
I want to show respect best I can to the idea. I wanted to know your process for creating it this time for this album art, and if it was easy or if it was one of those things like, oh, I have to revamp this.
Oh man. This album cover in particular, I think was probably the most difficult album cover I've ever made ever. Like, um, the process was nuts. I have so many different concepts saved on my computer, and it took me so long to land on even just the art direction for this whole thing as a whole because I am just way too close to the project. It's like this whole album is extremely personal to me. The most vulnerable record I've ever taken part in creating, and I needed it to be the right thing. And I just overthought every step of the process. So I guess to answer your question, it was a lot of trial and error, of course, making so many different art pieces in different styles, X, Y, and Z. And then eventually, you know, landed on, I was looking at like Alice in Chains Dirt album cover, like Red Hot Chili Peppers Californication album cover, like the blue and the orange, and like all of this stuff, and like Smashing Pumpkins album covers, and you know, all sorts of shit like that. And I was like, I just wanted something that in like captured those types of like art pieces from back in the day while also saying the thing that this album is saying on its own. And so, hundreds and hundreds of layers of in Photoshop and a shitload of 3D objects later, I uh, created that piece. And a lot of it had to, me and our manager, Travis, like he helped a lot in with the creative direction, and like I leaned on him a lot for his opinion and like what he thought, and what like how certain art pieces made him feel. So a lot of it was I don't know, it took me months to get that thing, just the front cover, like hashed out, and I was just obsessing over it for such a long time. But yeah, I appreciate the kind words about the album cover because it's in my design career, I think that's my most proud piece to date. So that means a lot.
Ladies and gentlemen, that really is saying something. You have to check out some of his designs, especially the stuff I mentioned earlier. So for him to say that, that's a big deal. And I'm so happy you vindicated my thinking because I was seeing all those artists you mentioned. I was like, okay, Little Kid, Pumpkins, Colors. You BSing yourself in your head. You're like, oh, maybe it's the Peppers. No, it can't be the Peppers, but definitely Alice in Chains. You
Yeah,
start nitpicking like we would if we had the vinyl in our hand.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Finals are crazy too.
Is there any song that holds up to Forget Me? That's one of the songs you really, really love.
Oh,
Because that's one of your favorite songs to play, and you don't get to play it often.
oh. There's a lot that I think are that surpass Forget Me in my personal opinion. So I'm very excited for this record. I don't know. I'm so pumped to play it live. We haven't even played it together yet, like as a whole, because we haven't been playing shows, but we're about to start soon. So, man, there's so many off the new one that I want to play that I think are really going to be fun ones live for sure.
Good, sir. You're ready because you've been working out, you've been getting right. It's a different lifestyle. I always end these with the most important question. What's the best piece of advice someone has given you that you use time and time again?
Honestly, I might have even said this earlier, but somebody told me to stop and smell the roses one day, in regards to some of the stuff that I was talking about. And I have to, tell myself that all the time, especially when things do get a little more difficult in the band front, you know what I mean? So yeah, honestly, yeah, stop and smell the roses, and have a good time, and remember why you started doing whatever it is you're doing in the first place.
Wise words, and I probably should do that too. Money, women, and money.
Don't get to
Money, women.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Ben Hoagland. Actually, before I let you go, what is Hoagland? What is that last name, good sir?
Oh, it's
very Viking-y.
yeah, it's like Norwegian, Scandinavian. Yeah. I think one of the two, something like that, or both. I don't know. It's yeah, very Viking-esque last name.
Just gotta get you an axe, man. Whether one is a hatchet or a real one, because the whole getup, the tats, the piercings, the ears. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, head over to the links below. Stare Into The Seething Wounds, out October 10th. Should have been 3 days earlier for my birthday, but we're not gonna start trouble today. And then you can check out Cycle of Sin. It is out now. It is one of the best songs Extortionist has ever dropped. Also, don't forget to go check them out on Instagram, Extortionist NW. You can also check out Ben Hoagland _, and then also check out their website. It's going to be extortionist.co. You can get everything you need, from the music to some of the coolest designs you'll ever see for a band. Definitely go check them out ASAP. And good sir, thank you so much for coming through. It was such a blessing to have this opportunity to speak to you.
No, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And everybody else, you know what I'm going to say. Be smart, be mindful. Check out some skin. Ninja.
Baby, you listen to John the Ninja. Oh, your ears are about to go on a vacation. John the Ninja's got what you need.